Godzilla Resurgence, or by its cooler sounding Japanese name, Shin Godzilla, is the 31st movie of the kaiju icon, and by far the most Lovecraftian and merciless iteration of the atomic myth to date. Yes, even scarier than -1. Shin Godzilla's version of the King of Monsters is Doom incarnate, trapped in an eternally evolving body, knowing nothing but survival despite its painful existence. Like an earthquake and a flash flood, it came without warning and raised hell. Since Godzilla is obviously a villain in this film, he represents Japan's and the world's grave fear of atomic destruction and unstoppable nature. Shin Godzilla has political themes in the sense that it raises awareness of how poorly the Japanese government handled the Fukushima disaster, and that's reflected on Godzilla. Japan's leaders, as a whole, needed to change how it approached its problems. After frustratingly slow council meetings and red tape, Japan came together with fresh, fast ingenuity and cooperation to seal the god of annihilation in its own coagulated blood. He remains a scar on Japan as a grim reminder they must learn how to evolve if they ever want to conquer their demons. But now what? That can't be it, right? There's so much more to this story. Many fans were hoping for a sequel, especially after the haunting last scene of humanoid Godzilla spawn peeling themselves off of his tail. Jesus. The unknown is humanity's strongest fear, which is fitting for this incarnation of Godzilla. However, who doesn't want to see the fascinating aftermath? More importantly, in my opinion, how did Godzilla's existence change the world? In the next movie, if there ever is one, Godzilla would be more than a major headline. Nothing would be the same. This is the fallout of Shin Godzilla. I know there's already a chart of Shin Godzilla's evolutions until he eventually becomes God, but I'm not interested in that for this video. I want to stay down to earth and explore what happened when he was a statue, because it would greatly influence a potential sequel, and I thought it would be fascinating to talk about for world building. Starting off, Japan would want to be prepared for the future and construct a bulletproof contingency plan. What should they do with Godzilla? No need for a nuke now. They could just chip him away and destroy the pieces one by one. However, scientists would want to be sure cracking his coagulated tomb wouldn't release the Godzilla spawn on his tail. In this state, he can't produce nuclear fission, but it's unknown what kind of activity may spark that reaction, or if Godzilla is harboring deadly elements. It's like Pandora's box. They could still transport Godzilla somewhere else and nuke him. But moving a 100,000-ton lizard without cracking its shell sounds incredibly risky. The best bet is to leave him be until scientists discover a way to safely kill him for good, but we'll get to that later. A new elite group would be formed dedicated to monitoring Godzilla's statue, the Godzilla Mobile Task Force. GMTF would have dynamic procedures for if Godzilla awakens. Trucks full of coagulants manned by brave workers would rush to the scene like first responders to a natural disaster, risking their lives for not only a single home or district, but all of Japan. Any time Godzilla is free for a short time could be called a cataclysmic rumbling. The global superpowers agreed if Godzilla awakened, a nuclear bomb countdown would begin. The GMTF units must work faster than any first responder to seal Godzilla before the clock hits 0. Politicians, conspiracy theorists, journalists, and news anchors would reference these rumbling events the same way we talk about hurricanes and power plant meltdowns in history. Any step Godzilla takes would be marked on the calendar as a day of reckoning. Japan would also officially partner with the companies that produced the original coagulant. These factories would receive the best funding so they could develop stronger formulas to keep Godzilla sealed for longer. Maybe someday, forever. And let's not forget about these bastards. The Godzilla spawn evolved in response to humanity's cooperation against the host. They are likely faster and more agile than the original. They may also lack firepower and durability, but with the advantage of increased fire rates and maneuverability to avoid attacks. Japan would anticipate their lethality and develop special countermeasures against them. Bombs were able to make Godzilla bleed before. That means he can be killed. Each evolution was a response to pressure. Similar weaponry could work on the spawn, perhaps iron rods designed to penetrate and inject coagulants to block blood flow and nuclear reactions. I'm trying to stay true to the movie here, but some hard military style mechs and fighting Godzilla spawn would be metal as hell. Godzilla's existence would possibly trigger a Cold War in the East. Well, as if that hadn't existed already. But the tensions would get worse. China and Russia were pretty adamant about nuking Godzilla. Japan needed France's help to persuade enough votes to delay the bomb. Now that Japan achieved the impossible, stopping Godzilla without a nuke, Russia and China may feel some type of way. A laser-spitting giant lizard sitting somewhere in a foreign country that they don't control? I wager these communist countries' tunes would change real quick. Perhaps they demand samples from Japan, which they deny probably, fearing what other nations could do with Godzilla's genetic material, let alone the new elements brewing in its gut. Japan would have a choice to make, whether to keep Godzilla around so they could study its dark isotopes for energy production, which could fix the Japanese economy that's been in shambles since the 90s. America, being America, would probably back Japan in exchange for fuel trade, including France, since they helped delay the bomb. If Russia and China got left out of this relationship, I think it'd be interesting narratively if they sent spies to infiltrate the Godzilla research program. It'd be scientist espionage like we've seen in the Manhattan Project. Japan would have to tighten its security, but a perspective from a foreign spy collecting data on Godzilla would be fascinating for a character's background and motivation. I somewhat doubt we'd get a character like this in a big movie, considering how much of a stranglehold China has on media. But who's to say? Finally, we have the scariest prospect, the cult of Godzilla. We saw a short glimpse of this emerging religion in the movie. It's no surprise that if a kaiju was destroying the city, people would pray to it and hope they'd be spared. However, I believe it'd go much further than that. Think of this scenario. After Godzilla was sealed, his followers demanded he be released. Otherwise, his wrath would return tenfold when he breaks out himself. But of course, no one listened to them. So dedicated agents of Godzilla's sect forge a plan to concoct anti-coagulant bombs and plant them at Godzilla's feet. They'd have to get through the GMTF, the military, and Godzilla researchers. But what's most dreadful is they're already there. Religion, faith, and belief have no boundaries. Ideas spread from mind to mind until they reach the right person with enough influence to enact the congregation's plans. Like an eldritch entity, Godzilla's mere presence drives people to do insane things. Suddenly, you have citizens who are willing to betray their own country to appease a false god. No department of security is prepared for hysteria. It could pave the way for Godzilla's permanent reawakening, and Japan would once again see hellfire on its horizon. There is not a better myth for atomic energy than Godzilla. He embodies the awesome potential and horrors of its misuse. Nuclear power can keep nations alive for generations or wipe them out in a single breath. Japan learned how to live with the pain of the past, and now Godzilla's living statue is a grim reminder that nuclear annihilation is always seconds away from becoming reality. If all humans have to do is press a button, all Godzilla has to do is wake up. Thank you for watching my fan speculation of Shin Godzilla. I'll see you in another video. Stay groovy.